All right. Hello. Welcome. A little bit of a special session tonight, a recorded game analysis between the Rapleon, who plays Odin, against Chemo, who plays Ra. So I was working all weekend. Didn't have much time for, internet nonsense, the nerd, stuff like that. And when I logged on to the RTS Sanctuary website, I was greeted with a certain post, which really entertained me. The topic, as we can see, is Fix This Game by the Rapleon. Tells me to enjoy the ultimate cancer. Outboomed Chemo, destroyed his third TC, was 5k plus ahead in points. Blah, 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 blah. I lost. And then proceeds, of course, to blame the game for the loss. So I'm always interested in this kind of debate because I feel like a lot of players will blame the game, imbalance, the map, where hunt spawned, the time of day, headache, period, whatever it is. They'll blame all of that instead of just going down to the nitty gritty and just realizing, you know what, I played worse. I lost. I got to play better next time. And I feel like that mindset, as we will load up this game, I feel like that mindset kind of prevents a lot of players from improving, or to improve to where they can get better, because when they lose, their mindset is all about the game's broken. It's kind of what I call the John Arbitrator mindset, where if you watch him stream, anytime he loses, something about the game was wrong, it was imbalanced or stupid or whatever. Not calling him out, or not calling the Rapleon out, because I also see him frequently complaining and whining in Twitch chat. It's a very common conception among players. I mean, you see it anywhere. I mean, professional sports, the refs blew the game, whatever it could be. I argue that 9 times out of 10 in this game, even though there is imbalance, that if you actually break the game down, a player won or lost because they either played better or worse than the opponent. And I'm thinking that when I watch this recorded game, which is pretty long, we'll probably fast forward some stuff, I'll find that while yes, Ra is imbalanced, but the Rapleon did not lose because of imbalance. I'm going to guess he lost because he played bad at the end game. So let's see. Let's get into this game. So we've got Chemo as Ra. He's blue. And he's got Odin as red. Now Odin, that's a tier for the win. That's the Rapleon. Now I haven't read the rest of the thread yet because I didn't want to have my mindset on this game, kind of have it more spoiled than already. But what I've found in those topics is that it tends to become like a Patchaholics Anonymous meeting where everybody just shows up to kind of complain about stuff, and there's really nothing of any value, intrinsic value out of it. It's just everybody whining and complaining, and that's the way it is. But maybe it's different. But yeah, I'm very interested to see, because how this game truly ends up, and if we can really say that this game was in balance and that cost the Rapleon, or if he just played bad. And yes, imbalance, when you look at a game, you can say maybe 10% imbalance affected it, maybe 20%. But from what I've seen from watching recorded games, and I've watched quite a few, especially like since I started casting, like the recent tournaments, I've noticed that like pretty much every game is just someone played better or worse than the other. But then when I like tune into like Twitch chat, it's like these people are watching something completely different than what I'm watching, because everybody's like, oh, he lost because of imbalance this, imbalance that. I'm like, that's not why he lost it all. Now, having said all of that, I agree that mercenaries are overpowered, and I agree that rocs in certain situations are also overpowered. So I don't deny that. But I don't think that's going to be the reason why the Rapleon will lose this game. It could be a reason, but I think we will find many other reasons why he lost. But I think we can kind of fast forward this. I mean, I guess we can turn it into a kind of an Odin versus Ra kind of generalized strategy. I will say that Painted Desert is a tough map to push in Egyptian late game, because it's very hard to get into one of these corners late. I think this corner wouldn't be as bad, but because there's really only 1, 2, 3 ways in, and then maybe later on you could get a 4th in if like the wood is cut. But that make it hard, because then you have these 0 pop units that even if you get up 4-2 town centers, you still are facing 0 pop units that can defend down here and defend up here. And I see people are kind of misinterpreting what I'm saying. Is I agree that mercenaries are overpowered, and I would like them to get a significant nerf. But I think players too often focus on imbalance and don't realize that players are losing because of completely other reasons. I mean, the Rapleon will have you, if you listen to him in Twitch chat, will have you think that Odin has no chance against anything that's Greek, anything that's Egyptian, and it's just okay against Uranos kind of a deal. You know, it's the typical, I play this god, so then my god is bad against these certain matchups. I mean, everybody does it. I mean, and that's what makes patching difficult, is because if you have an Egyptian player, he's naturally going to be biased, probably unintentionally, maybe intentionally, I don't know, but he's going to be biased towards his god, and he's going to be biased. You know, an Odin player is going to be biased towards Odin. And I'm not calling anybody out. It's natural. It's natural to want to blame something other than yourself for a loss. It's natural to feel like you are playing at a disadvantage. But what I say here for, like, you're on this map, Odin into Ra, what probably the best thing to do is to make a few early units and maybe ensure that the Ra is stuck in his base. And then with the amount of hunt that's on this map, which there's a decent amount. I mean, we got 3 rhinos, 5 giraffe, more hunt down here. I mean, Odin can keep up with like an early rain. They can really keep up with an early rain and be all right. But you want to grab an early second town center for Odin. But I feel like you kind of have 2 ways. You can try to push and like pressure this town center, which if the Ra will use shifting sands, then you'll probably lose your units, and it's kind of hopeless anyway. Here, I'm kind of questioning Teemo's build a little bit. He's advancing kind of late. Like, very late. Like, this is a 5:45 advance. This is very late. Like, if the Rapleon here... See, I don't like this. I think in this situation, you don't get a lot of value out of an early barracks here. I don't think you do at all. I don't really see why you would do that in this situation where it's such a defensive map. Like, I don't have a problem with a little bit of early aggression, but I think you can do that with like sending a couple Hersier forward, like just pushing him off. Like, you want to make sure the Ra isn't on this hunt. He knows it's not on his hunt up here, but I think you probably just send a couple Hersier forward, get him away from the hunt, and then grab a town center. Like, I'd rather see this town center being built before a longhouse, but it's... What's it slow him down? 30, 40 minutes? Seconds? I mean, not a big deal. I don't want to see Forest Fire here. You want to save it till later. And in fact, using Forest Fire late game on like this is potentially something that could open up another path into the base. And my point of this isn't, I see there's some comments about other balance in the, everybody, I mean, I guess we could talk about it if we want to, instead of the game specifically, but like, we're going to see hunting dogs, all the eco upgrades, and early second town center. I don't know if you can win with a rag here because of how defensive the map becomes. You could try. But, like, here's the problem. When you're trying to push a one town center raw, like, these units, 3 raiding cavalry and a Valk, they aren't going to do anything for you. So really, you almost might as well just do like a semi-quick heroic here. And it is... So, like, these units, they are not going to really accomplish much for him. I mean, you want probably a few just to make sure the Ra isn't coming out of his base. Something about gold at second TC. Well, that is very interesting, actually. And I wonder if Chemo knows this. Because this is actually a map where you could actually pressure the gold mines pretty decently here. Because the gold mines aren't very safe at all. I mean, you got this one that's way back here. So it's a little bit pseudo-safe in a way. But you can kind of pressure this. So, like, actually, I feel like with where these gold mines are, like, the Odin has a pretty decent chance of winning this game pretty quickly. The difficulty is knowing, as the Odin player, where all the gold mines are early enough to, like, go for an all-in on, like, a gold mine. But I think, like, a semi-fast heroic here, like, through Frost, potentially even Nord. I mean, because you know Chemo's going to try to get this gold over here. I mean, you got trees, you Mountain Giant, potentially. I think Frost is safer because you can do a lot of damage on an all-in and then kind of play after that. But we see Chemo going Hathor. I wonder if he's just going to go Mythic. Would be pretty brave. And so, yeah, see, this is a bad forest fire. You kill one unit and a tower that really protects nothing. I mean, what's the point? So, I'm not a fan of that forest fire. I think if you save it for later, you can do so much more damage. And Rappian is going up Scotty, which prevents him, because he's doing that semi-quick heroic. Because he's going Scotty, he doesn't have the pressure now to push here. Like, theoretically, if he's not going up Scotty, and even at staying 2 town centers, he would potentially have a decent army to, like, prevent this Mignol from going up here. Like, you could put it back here, but then it doesn't protect this. But he kind of blew that by getting this town center. But again, I don't know if he knew where all the gold mines were at the point where he decided he was going to build a town center. And, like, if he goes for the all-in kind of a thing. And here's the Locust in on the Dwarves. And now you have the Rock flying around. And, yeah, this is kind of the pain that you then fall into as we see a shift that didn't work. So Chemo actually misclicked his shift. I think he actually shifted the units to where they already were because we saw them move, which is actually not supposed to be able to happen. You're not supposed to be able to shift on top of yourself. So I'm not sure what happened there, but I know, like, I've done it myself where I've, like, done a shift and nothing happened. And I think he messed up, like, somehow there's, like, a double clicking or something that can destroy a shift. But yeah, if he would have shifted these units away, he could have sat on this gold mine and done a ton of damage. But now he can't really. But again, this is a little bit of a problem here too, the rock. There has been some suggestions of removing the free rock upon aging up. I think it's a good idea. Because the power of this, and it's a little bit too powerful, is because of the immediate timing that you get. It trains in only 14 seconds, but 14 seconds, I mean, you can't underestimate the value of time. I mean, real-time strategy. 14 seconds is big. And it's also, if you have to train it yourself. So you say you age up with, oh, what god am I even talking? Hathor. And you need to make your rock. That's actually that's a decent nerf. At least 15 seconds slower. You're 150 gold, 15 favor. I think that's actually a bigger nerf than what people think. But yeah, this garrisoning in and out, I mean, it's so hard to defend. But because of all of this kind of pressure here, he can't pressure at all. Now just make Rock not Garrison Siege or give it a special bar for 5-second delay. The problem is you can't give him a 5-second delay. Maybe with like access to the actual files you could, like the dev files, you could maybe do that, but not on Voobly. You could probably make it so that Rocs can't Garrison Siege, but I don't like that either. I mean, rock drops are... I'm just not a fan of removing aspects of the game. And I can understand the pain for rock drops with Siege, but I think there is a time and a place for it, to some extent. Gets in on there. So Rapple here is kind of doing nothing. Like, really, this pressure, these two units, has done way much more than really what it should. I mean, he can really just have a couple Hersier down here, and then like this will do nothing at this point. And okay, you got the frost in, or the freeze in on the croc here, but this has done a ton of damage here. But yeah, that is a little bit more like that did more damage than what it should have. I mean, it just completely distracted him from doing anything else. Like, realistically, Rapleon probably could have prevented this from going up and kept it at a 2-2 town center game. Like, his economy, I don't know, it seems a little bit behind from where it should be just because of all this distraction here. I mean, 2 units, you just kind of throw down 2 Hersier, and then that's it. But having to do that, I mean, it's harder to react to that than it is to do it. Like, for the raw player here, he can just kind of on Garrison and Garrison a couple times, and then he doesn't really have to do anything else at all. But yeah, I think removing the free rock would be good. It's already had its speed nerfed. It probably could have a little bit more of a speed nerf as well. I don't know where the rock went. Did it die? But yeah, so far this is kind of what I expected it would be. No, I did say 2. I said 3. You get 1, 2, 3. You got your hill fort there. You're good. I mean, what's the croc gonna do? Kill 1 Vil every 30 seconds? I mean, yeah, that's not that big of a deal. Then once you start pressuring, and I mean, nobody has high enough eco or high enough APM to manage that when doing other stuff. You start pressuring, and then the rock is gonna stop dropping. But yeah, you put 3 here, and you're not gonna lose that many units. Now this push here by the Rapleon is a bit of a suicide push. I mean, you didn't even really have the army to reasonably make this work. Frost Giant gets stuck. So I'm a little bit surprised by this pressure here. Like, I feel like at this point he almost needs to rely on more of a little bit of a late game push. Skin of the Rhino too is a big problem, being in the temple. And you can get the upgrade for throwing Axemen, but they don't, unless you have like 5, then they just get killed by like the croc anyway. So it's, I think a couple Hersier do better than like having 5 Axemen sitting down there. And I don't know why Rapleon is hunting from this. Look, even the old Gaia kill, animal kill on villagers. I don't know why isn't he over here? Rapple should also be considering walling up on the sides over here. Just even if the walls are so annoying just to deal with. You always wall forward if you can, as Norse you can. So yeah, Chemo's eco, he's got all of his eco upgrades except for the 3rd one, the 3rd wood. So his economy's really pretty good. Just a little bit imbalanced, but then here is where mercs are kind of a bit of a problem, where Chemo can inefficiently manage his economy, and if Rapple attacks here, Chemo can just spend 400 gold on a mercenary, and then there's no attack that's happening. And I don't know why I always enjoy that. But like at this point, like if I'm Rappel here, like he would be fortunate to even win this game because I don't think he's played very well at the beginning of this game. I mean, what has he done? He had a suicide attack here. I mean, he was abused by this rock, but that really shouldn't have done as much damage as it did anyway. So like if we're gonna all of a sudden base this entire game on late game mercenaries are too strong, like he hasn't played well yet. Like I haven't seen anything. Well, Chemo hasn't done anything yet either. But there's nothing yet that you can blame that can say like Rappel has made more mistakes than Chemo's done. Chemo's just kind of sat defensive, which is easier in that regard to not make mistakes because you're just kind of waiting on the opponent to make a mistake, which so far he's done. Well, no, I think what you have to do is, I mean, this was where his only villagers were that were out of his base, is you just have a couple of Herseer here already. Because you kind of have to anticipate it. I mean, Locust was used. It didn't really kill a whole lot, maybe like 3 or 4 villagers, which for Locust isn't that much. Now, I do like this forward build. This is good. But kind of armory upgrades are you looking at? Just Pierce, and you're going up Balder here. I don't think Balder will win him the game. I don't know if he saves it till later, but yeah, I mean, overall, this is a tough map to beat Egyptian in because it's pretty defensive. I mean, you look at these walls. There's only there's only a few ways to get in the base here, but it's. But yeah, Chemo hasn't really done anything either. Like really, at this point, Chemo should be able to roll Rappel over and win this game, like very quickly. I mean, Chemo is, I would say, substantially ahead. Just because, partially because of the defensive map, and also because Rappel had an opportunity, or would have if he would have chosen a different strategy to push these gold mines. But again, I don't think he knew where the gold mines were. And then we see Chemo pushing again. I see a lot of players do this where, oh, that's a bad Frost. The only way this Frost is good is if he can kill Son of Osiris during this. Which he was pretty far forward, which if he's able to get Son of Osiris dead, I don't think he will. I'm not a fan of this Frost because he was going to retreat anyway. And Rappel didn't have enough units to kill Son of Osiris. So I do like this though. He's sending the Axeman forward to get the rock away, and now he's losing his Axeman. Because he's hoping the Son of Osiris can't get into the rock and fly away. So if he kills the Son of Osiris, which he might, then I would say it's a good play. He's at 200 health. Will he be able to just kind of retreat out of this, though? I don't think so. So, yeah, okay. I can get behind. That's a good Frost. I didn't initially think of the Son of Osiris kill, but that's a good Frost. Son of Osiris dead. That's a big portion of Chemo's, that's a big portion of Chemo's, attack power right now, because Chemo has no siege, so he can't push. Chemo, you can see Chemo is just going all in on Ragnarok defense. So I hope he doesn't cast Reg here. I also think I see him making ballistas. I feel like Norse players have kind of fallen away from Balder Rams. I think they're better here than Ballista. I mean, you can sit the Ballista under towers, but Ballista, it just takes so long for Ballista to do damage. But, I don't know. Norse mains probably would disagree with me, so maybe I'm wrong. But I still like portable ram spam with the Balder tech. They're pretty good. And Chemo, because he's got all the building upgrades. He's even got sun-dried brick. I mean, it's going to take so long to kill them. so long. But Chemo, because he spent all of his resources on like building upgrades and crap and spamming towers, he really doesn't have an army. Except for mercenaries. Now, do we have crenellations? We do. So, even though towers can't get upgraded, he'll be able to deal with the mercenaries. So, but it's still going to take so long to kill this. Like, I feel like if he just switches into rams and just gets 6 rams going here, he would slam the town center down so much sooner. That's a little bit of a lack of forward building over here so far. But yeah, here come the mercs. But now, I will say that the train time nerf does more. It does more also than what people think, compared to what they used to train at. Like I think it was 2 or 3 seconds, and now it's 6. Because that effectively halves the number of mercs on the field to some extent. I mean, it kind of depends on the situation. But, like, theoretically, Chemo could have all of these mercs out at the same time. And he's losing a lot of resources in this. I mean, these mercs are kind of just dying. Now, gold is kind of free at this point, but this is actually working a little better than I thought because Chemo has put all of his economy rather into an army. He put it on to, like, building upgrades, anticipating a quick reg. So, he's going to lose his town center. I also don't know why he's not empowering it, even with a priest would be so good. Now here he comes. And on 100 hit points. Well, Chemo has a huge gold trade route, so the mines don't matter anymore where they're at. I mean, man, they were idle for a while. That was like me idle. So, yeah, Chemo actually, I feel like really misplayed this early Mythic Age, where he kind of played anticipating a quick reg and spent so much resources in a reg that he had like no army techs and no army. And like if Chemo would have just like normally played, he probably could have forced a reg. Now then the question is, does then Chemo lose to a reg? I don't know, probably not. So, how many vills does he have? How many trade route? His economy isn't super great. But yes, certainly, as pointed out in chat, if he regs now, he can get this town center. And it would be 5-1 or 4-1. I think he could win that way. Because he has some trade route behind him. Yeah, I think what you do now is you do a reg. But before you do a reg, you switch out of some of these and you transition into rams. Like, this is the point where I think you switch from ballista to rams. Again, rams, Baldur rams, they're so good. Where's the tech here? What am I looking at? Nope, I keep pressing the wrong button. Let's go to Odin. Baldur rams. So, train faster, more crush damage, more speed. 300 gold, 30 favor. It's kind of free at this point. I think you do rams here because they destroy buildings so much faster. So like when you're pushing and you have the advantage and you can move through a base, rams are better. But they don't make rams anymore. So this is like gonna be a super slow push, but he should be able to push through it. Well, he doesn't. You know, he already killed the. You missed it. He already killed the Son of Osiris with what turned out to be a nice frost. But like what I'd like to see here, so he has map control, is I'd like to see him start like building buildings up here to like do a multi-push. It'd be nice for him to get this town center first though. But I mean, you get out the rams. Get out the Rams. I mean, this tower push is nice. This tower push is nice. But the Rams would clear this up so much faster. I don't know why he's trying to build a town center. Well, yeah, I think at this point, if Rappel can get this town center, he should win. Despite overpowered this, that, or the other. But it's really taking him too long. How is he holding? It's because Rappel doesn't really have good siege. I mean, we can see how long. Look how long it takes these ballista to kill this tower. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ballista. It took that long. So he can't push through and take control of this spot. And yes, I do agree. If he were to rag here, look at the resources he has. If he rags here, he wins. Like, no doubt about it. He rags here, he wins. Because he can push and take this town center, and he can push and take this corner as well. Very easily. But let's fast forward a little bit, see what's going on. Like, really, the mercs at this point, they really aren't doing anything. They're just dying. Like, so far, mercs haven't affected anything. It's just, this push is so slow because he has no siege. I mean, now 4 ballista and he's still making more. Like, make rams. They would do this so long. Because the rams would just flatten this so fast. And then he would be so far ahead. Like, you gotta make rams here. And I thought I saw Heimdall also mention that they only make rams in side pushes. And I agree. That's the only time I see them make rams in side pushes. And that's a mistake. A ram push would have leveled this all by now. Because he can almost build towers faster than the ballista can attack. Like, the one thing is, and I forget if, I think they were given attack bonus though against towers. But military versus military are just canceling each other out, Cameron. That doesn't matter. The only thing that matters here are siege. He just needs to clear this out. The mercenaries aren't preventing that. The problem is that he doesn't have the right siege. And he's also overkilling units with his ballista. And like right now, his ballista are all just shooting at this mummy. Like, who really cares about the mummy one hitting a couple units here and there? I mean, yeah, one hitting your fire giants, but your value. Here's the ram. Your goal here is just to clean the buildings out. So here's your first ram, but now he's got 100,000. He doesn't even have the Balder tech. So he's making Balder and he doesn't even have it ready. But here's also the problem. So now that Rappel has run into this problem here, this is where you need a side push up through here. He needs to build a couple hill forts here and then just push right through with rams so that Chemo can't just auto send all mercs down here. Because here's the problem. He has map control, but he's not controlling. Like, he could have map control if he wanted to, but he's not doing it. And yeah, there's no reason. Like, see, I'm done with this. I'm really done with this game and the complaint about mercs already. Because Rappel can just insta-win this game while going rag right now. So, whatever is said in the topic already, I don't really care about. I know that mercs are overpowered. But that's not why he lost. He's losing because right now he's making a huge mistake where he's just not using rag. I mean, he's got 8 grand in his bank. Why not? He would push through all of this. Just wait until he has 6 Balder rams. I mean, and then rag pushes through all of this and he wins. So, So yeah, so far mercs haven't. The mercs are strong, but it's just not happening. Because here's the thing with Ballista is they auto attack units, and again he's overkilling so many units with his Ballista. Like nothing is gonna change here because he's not killing any buildings. He's just units are fighting units. This can this right here, what's happening now can just extend for another 20-30 minutes. I mean, it'll never end. What's going on right now? Something has to change here. Because Ballista just shooting at units. Now he killed a tower, but now they're just going to start shooting at units again. I mean, it's just units versus units here. Theoretically, up 2 to 3 town centers. You know, the red player can win. Or you might think should win. But mercs, Egyptian, they can still fight essentially 160 pop, 160 pop at this point because of mercenaries. But yeah, this is just, yeah, it's just bad play. And look, he's deleting villagers instead of even casting reg. So like now he doesn't have a lot of villagers to even reg with, just because he deleted so many of them. So yeah, I'm not impressed. And here comes a few back builds, but that's so what you do here. If you can't get this town center, which you can't so far, is you just hold this position, keep the town center down, build up here, and push through. Yeah, mercs are broken, but that's not the issue here. Why should he risk a reg? Reg isn't even a risk. Look at his economy. Like, it doesn't matter if he regs. He has... It's just immediate. He gets his economy back. But yeah, I think we can fast forward for a while here because this isn't doing anything for me. Like, if Rappel would... Despite this incompetent attack that he's got going on here, like, he could have... No, see, I don't agree with that. That Eggy should have lost here. Like, strength and weaknesses of gods. Like, Eggy can hold 3 to 2 town centers. I don't really have a problem with that. That's okay. Like, I don't have a huge problem with that. Like, just because you get up 3 to 2 town centers, I don't think just should default, oh, I win. Like, that doesn't do anything for me. And now he is finally pushing through here just through sake of something. But yeah, why isn't it okay? Like, why should you get up because you're up 3 to 2 town centers? You shouldn't win. That doesn't mean you just win. I mean, big deal. Because here's what you're thinking about. All that gives you is a 20 pop advantage. And if you can't use your 20 pop to win, then that doesn't necessarily mean it's broken. Like, it's giving you 20 pop. But see, my argument is that Rappel is so incompetently using his 20 pop advantage that he really doesn't have a pop advantage right now. Because he has so many ballista that are inefficient use of population that he might as well be fighting equal at this point in pop. No, what I'm saying here is neither player has been that competent to the point where my whole premise is that the majority of games won or lost are due to player competence or incompetence. And right now, neither player has done anything competent enough to deserve a win. So at this point, who cares who wins? It doesn't really matter. It's just neither player has done enough to win. They haven't. There's no perfect game or even close to perfect game at this point. It's just there's been so many mistakes on either side. Anybody could win or lose. So nobody's played better or worse than the other. So blue wins, red wins. At this point, I don't care. It's about average. Yeah, I am serious. I'm serious. Like, this hasn't been great gameplay from Red. I mean, does Rappel deserve to win because he got a town center down? Does he deserve to win because he hasn't lost? I mean, why? Why does he deserve to win? Like, I think the only good thing he's done is he used that frost to kill the Osiris. That was a good play. The rest of this is just average gameplay. Like, big deal. He killed the town center. Like, he hasn't played great. There's no side builds. And you got these rock drops here. Like, nothing. He's just, like, this is just like Titan AI versus Titan AI here. They're just funneling units at each other in this same spot over and over and over and over again. So, Hetlios, you're missing what I'm saying. I'm not saying anybody's done anything better or worse. What I'm saying is that you can't blame this win-loss on any sort of imbalance, because at this point, neither player has played good enough to be able to say they lost because of an imbalance. They lost because they didn't play good enough. So, nobody's played well. Nobody's really played bad. I mean, it's just average. You can argue that this rock drop here is too strong. But let's take a look at it. Chemo's got 3, 7, 11 pop in here versus 2. I mean, he made too many. He's made too many. But this is 11 pop dedicated to this. And there's about 14 pop here. I mean, he could really cut off a few here. But we're finally... I mean, this is where we should have been 5 minutes ago with a proper attack. Do I do coaching? Not really. I mean, I don't mind watching recorded games. I think the problem is that I have a kind of a different mindset. Like, I'm not a big build order guy. I'm more of a general strategist. And that's what the problem is I have with this game. There's no strategy here. Where are the side builds? There's nothing. This is just Titan versus Titan AI just cramming units at each other. Like, that's all I'm seeing here. And eventually... Rappel is pushing because, well, he does have an advantage. This is your 3-2 advantage that is slowly coming through here. The mercs are helping stave this off. I don't disagree that the mercs are allowing this defense to happen. Here's I don't know where the where did the Os go? But, yeah, like, if he just builds a few hill forts here and sends, like, a few... See, this is where strategy, map control is very important. It's all about population. Because late game, the only resource that truly exists late game is population. Everything else is basically infinite, unless you're getting wood-starved and woods ran out. But population is the resource. So what Rappel can do here, because he's on the offensive, is he can push through, make like three rams to begin with. Push through here. He probably won't accomplish a whole lot, but what it does force is it'll force a lot of units to defend, because Chemo can't under-defend this point. Because if he under-defends, then this gets wiped out and the trade's gone. So what has to happen here is that Rappel comes over, attacks this. Chemo is forced to over-defend this, and then Rappel can switch to this side and then attack all through here. But because he's not doing that, all Chemo has to do is just funnel everything here. Rappel's funneling everything here, and that's that. And because he's Egyptian, and Egyptian is very strong at defending, Chemo can defend this over and over and over. How much pop does... Like right now, Chemo's at 140-40. Rappel's at only 149. So Rappel's really only 9 pop ahead at this point with a lot of inefficient ballista. So Rappel's almost fighting at a pop disadvantage. Now a lot of this is probably in caravans. But Rappel, I mean, he's not even at full pop right now. And yeah, it's... Here's a ram. Let's finally have the Baldur ram. But yeah, fewer ballista, more rams. Because yeah, I know. I'm saying just if we're just comparing pop there for that point, they were almost equal in like actually using pop space, and then the mercenaries help overcome that. Yes, ballista are pop efficient, but not as siege. You're right. So it was right to use ballista to get this town center. That was the right move. The problem after that, though, is that the ballista should go away and the rams should be more. You can still have a few ballista because they're useful to pick off some units at distance. But if you're trying to kill buildings, these ballista here are so inefficient. I mean, we can compare. Let's compare. Math here. Math is our friend. 3 pop or 68 crush. We've got 3 pop for 7 crush. It shoots 4 arrows. So 28 crush or 68 crush for the same pop space. 78 or 68 crush. What's better? I think we know the answer. Now, granted, you got to get the rams too where they got a ram, but he has no problem with that. So that's what I mean by this is such a big problem. He is costing himself so much pop space in siege because he is using incredibly inefficient ballista. 28 crush versus 68 for the same pop. What would you rather have? Get me some 68 crush. I don't care if they're dying. It doesn't matter because they're doing so much more damage in that same time period. It doesn't matter. But again, we're seeing no... There's no side builds, nothing. I think Athelos, you're like intentionally like misunderstanding every single thing I'm saying. Now, I do think, Victor, I would have to check the patch. I think it was patched in, though maybe just for walls, that ballista get a bonus based on the missing arrows, but that might have just been for walls. But yeah, I mean, like this rock drop, this is meaningless. I mean, it doesn't matter. But yeah, and then like his rams are just getting like score difference doesn't. Who cares about the score difference? A lot of the score difference is just because of he's sitting on resources. Again, Athelios, I don't disagree. Mercs are broken, but that's not why it's not why Rappel is losing this game. I mean, you can say that mercs are a contributing factor, but I say, from what I've seen so far, I can really just stop. The greatest contributing factor to why Rappel did not win this game is because he did not play well enough. Like, there's so much more he could be doing. There's so much he could be playing so much better strategically, just generally strategically playing better. Instead, it's been 20 minutes now of just funneling units into the same spot over and over and over again. This isn't strategy at this point. Like, it's just my Cam could do this. My 6-year-old son could do what Rappel's doing now, because all Rappel is doing is just auto queuing units right here. Like, there's nothing. He's doing nothing. So, Cameron, nobody deserves to win this game. But what you can't do is complain that this game was lost because of an imbalance. That's my whole point. I'm not arguing that one or the other deserves this. I'm just saying that Merc's imbalance is not why Rappel lost this. In my opinion, both these players should have lost. Now, Chemo won. I guess, you know what? That's modern day. Somebody's got to be a winner. That's how it is in T-ball. Everybody's a winner. But both of these players should just be a loser at this point, and they can both just admit that they played not great. And I think I've seen well enough here. Never a side build. Nothing. Like, nothing happened. Like, this is... And now he's gonna do a reg and a Titan at this point in the game. So I'm gonna agree with what Heimdall said at the very beginning. Not the very beginning, but about 20 minutes in when he destroyed this town center. I feel like Rappel was trying to flex by winning without a Ragnarok. And because he didn't use his Ragnarok when he could have just insta-won the game, now it's too late. He's using Ragnarok to build a town center. Now let me guess, is that he inefficiently defends and like loses because of a rock or something. Because he has no map control. He has no map control. He has no vision on this. Now, there is another thing that is very broken. Now, let's not be saying anything about telling people to go off themselves, because that is not appropriate. But another thing that is broken, what I'm getting at, is that there is a broken mechanic with dropping your catapult, and then because the boulder comes out in the beginning of the attack, they can get re-garrisoned, but Chemo completely stuffed this up, so that's not happening. Alright, so... yeah, this is... yeah. Yeah, this is... this was about as I expected. Is that this game had... the loss in this game had absolutely nothing to do with gross imbalance. Here comes another rock drop. He's going to lose his Titan Gate because he has no line of sight. He had no clue this was coming because he has no control of the map. He could have gotten control of this map 28 minutes ago. And that's... yeah, this... yeah. This game had nothing. This loss... I'm not going to say nothing. I'm being a little bit facetious here. But I'm going to put, like, this game, the loss was because of, like, 10% imbalance and 90% just incompetent play. And that's the percentages I'm sticking to. Yep. There's imbalance, but the vast majority... the vast, the 90% of this loss was just because of not good play. There's imbalance here. I'm not going to deny that. But the only thing that Rappel did good in this game was the Frost to kill the Osiris. That's the only thing. And so you're trying to tell me that he should win this game because of that one good play. Like, he deserves to win it. I don't agree with that. He had one good play. So I guess if you're going to compare, I mean, Chemo really had zero good play. I mean, I guess theoretically you could say that the rock drop was a good play, but I don't care. I mean, that's... Chemo had zero good plays. Rappel had one. Rappel lost because he didn't play good enough. Now, having said all of that, I agree that mercenaries are overpowered. I agree that rocs, there are issues with rocs, but in this game, it's not the mercenary that cost Rappel the game. It's not the roc that cost Rappel the game. It's the fact that he didn't make enough rams, or barely any. He didn't ever side build. He did nothing with his advantage. Like, he played to the Egyptian strength. The Egyptian strength is being able to fight under strong towers and like one spot where he can spam mercs and towers, and the Egyptian will never lose that spot. That's the Egyptian strength right there. So he played right into the Egyptian strength here. Khan Loke, is that the real Khan Loke? Or Khan Loki? Oh man, I cast one of your games in one of the classics, I think. Oh man, that is an old name. Whether it's not as you or not, I don't know, but good to see you. But yeah, see, even if Rappel never was able to build this town center, which he couldn't, if he just pushes through this, I mean, there's so many things he could have done. He could have ragged. Once he got this town center down, if he rags, he wins. Once he got this town center down and he had this solidified, if he starts attacking through here with rams, he wins. If he even just pushes through here a little bit and sends like 3 rams here, 4 rams, and starts forcing Chemo to send his mercenaries here, well, guess what? As soon as the rams die and he being Rapple can just replenish the pop right here right away, Rapple will push through. That's the advantage. I consider it like a teeter-totter kind of approach. You go all in here as Rapple. Once Chemo has everything pushed here, all of his pop here, then you flip, and then you come through here, you attack here, and then when Chemo has to defend here, you can let your army slowly die here. Chemo can't really anticipate that because you're the aggressor. You're determining where the attack is happening. As Chemo defends all in here to kill all your units, then you flip over here. The problem is, and here's another thing that a lot of players aren't very good at, is that they keep their auto queue on all of their buildings, and so they can't do that because their auto queue is keeping all their units flooding in, and they have no power over where their units appear. So I think I could maybe just beat this dead horse here a little bit more. Who played better here? I would say Rapple by 1 point. Rapple won 1-0 by good gameplay because the only thing he did good was the frost. So yeah, we're gonna put it all down to that 1-0 Rapple. Rapple wins in the good place by 1. Chemo, I saw nothing from either player to impress me here other than that was the frost, because when I first saw the frost I was like, dang it, frost isn't any good, but then he got to kill all the Osiris. I'm like, that's good. That's a good play. I didn't anticipate that. So that's a good play. But we can look at the post game and see. Chemo at 104, 105, so he's got room for 35 army. And then mercs, resources, military, units killed, 980. Chemo had a ton of units lost. Gold from trade, 77 grand. That is another thing that I will say. I think the empowerment on the market should go. I don't like that. I don't like the empowerment on market. I think it's too strong. But yeah, this game, this loss had absolutely 10% imbalance, 90% not good enough. Kill ratio, units killed 980, units lost 630. But when you don't have this siege to push through this, what does this matter? I mean, it's just units smashing against units over and over and over. So, like, he wasn't accomplishing anything with his kill death. That's what this tells me. Now, you can interpret it as the other thing and say imbalance, but I'd say that this shows that despite having a good kill death in winning fights and killing units, he wasn't doing anything behind that. Like, he's killing units, but he's still just fighting units versus units, units versus units. The siege is never sieging. That's my opinion. 20% imbalance. I'm not going to disagree with that. But the rocs here, the rock drop didn't. The only reason this rock drop succeeded is because Rapple didn't have any map control. So if Rapple was effectively doing this, I mean, yeah. I think we could talk about this for a very long time. What the moral of the story is that I'm going to be done. I thought I would just watch this, and we might do this more often. But actually, what we'll do real quick here is let's read through the comments. Now that I've watched the game, let's read through the comments. Guy made 125 civilians. He actually only had about 105. So that's not true. Push him more. Yep. I played way much better. No. His towers have double the hit points of mine. Yes. I don't understand. I only lose to Chemo so much. Maybe it's because he's a better player than you. Fix rocs. Fix Hathor mercs. But I don't even know, like... See, I don't even know if, like, these... if that would even have changed the result of the game. But... yeah. Game will never be fixed. I mean, it is AOM. Based raffle as always. Oh, here's a hey Theos. However you say it. I wonder how many of these players actually watched this recorded game. I don't think there's a lot here. It's just random flaming. All right, yeah, there's no valuable discourse in there. So no valuable discourse, I don't think. Mercenaries are overpowered. It's mainly because of their armor. So we don't have time. Hold on, I got somebody waiting for me. But I like this discussion. So we can sit here and look at this. The infantry aren't that great, but it's the cavalry because they have the speed to get anywhere on the map despite having a lifespan. So the patch has changed a few things, lifespan and training time, both of which help. But I think it's good. Like, actually, the training time nerf does more than what you'd think. It lowers the numbers that you can have on the field at any time. And I think you realize that if, like, you were to go to non-patch and then play against a merc spammer and realize that all of the mercs are coming out at the same time, and that's tough. But the problem is the armor in combination with originally the insta-train time. So what the best changes to me would have been... Oh, I'm looking at the vanilla fan patch. The best change to me would have been what is in place already plus armor. And by I mean armor, I mean like a significant armor decrease, like 30%. And I'll let you in on a secret, is that years ago, in the middle of the patch, when we were discussing mercenary nerfs, is I spent a lot of time going through... The cost is 120 gold and 90. 120 for the cav and 90 for the infantry. I spent a lot of time, sorry, interrupted myself. Spent a lot of time talking about mercs and how to fix them. And I wanted to add in the armor. And I spent quite a bit of time getting all the mathematics and showing why the armor is such a huge problem. But I was the minority. So the armor didn't get through. The only thing that could ever be compromised to be agreed upon was the lifespan changes and the training time changes. But, which are good, but that wasn't the main issue with mercenaries. And that's what I always saw it as. Like, the main issue with mercenaries is that their armor is crazy high. And that's the problem early game into mid-late game is the armor. The problem late game then is the combination of the armor, though it doesn't make as big of an effect because lower armor earlier when you get armory upgrades then improves armor more later. So like a 10% unit will get higher armor bonuses and such. But it's a combination of the two. But so that's my opinion on that. I've also wanted to prevent empowerment on markets too. because I think that's too strong. Because the thing I don't like is the ability to just turtle in the corner in every map and with such a strong gold income. Gold should be valuable. And I don't have a problem with the trade routes because, I mean, the game is kind of based on late game trade routes. But I don't like the increased empowerment for it. And no, I'm not saying to blame anyone specifically. I mean, it's a team effort. And that, I know people have always wanted to get more information about it, and there's pros and cons, but the thing I never wanted was for people to be called out for why a change did or didn't happen. And so for years, that's why I just took responsibility for everything, because it's easier for everything just to be on me, because why not? I mean, I'm used to it anyway, so you might as well just pour it all on me. And believe me, I mean, there were times I couldn't even show up in a Twitch chat or log on to Voobly. They just come pouring in, and from everybody. Aranos players would complain that Aranos was too weak. Norse players would complain that Norse is too weak. Egyptians, Atlanteans, I mean, or Zeus, everybody. So, like, if I were to listen to what everyone were to complain about, every god is underpowered. And yes, Quinta, you are valuable. So, guaranteed every fifth whack. So I'm gonna head out in just a minute. If anybody has any, I might have missed some questions. I'm sorry. I try to keep up with the chat, but it's an interesting. I enjoy strategy talk. The problem is, when it comes to what I've seen from Age of Mythology, is that there isn't a lot of strategy talk when it comes to actual strategy, at least not objective. It's almost all subjective. And like, that's what I saw when I read Rappel's post. I'm like, he just lost a game that he didn't play well in, and he's just subjectively blaming it on mercs and the roc, because that's the easiest thing. That's the most tangible thing to blame it on. But I'm like, that's not going to be the reason why you lost. And while I prove I was right, but again, I don't want to make it like this is a make fun of Rappel thing, because it's not. Everybody across the board, any sport, any competition, people are always blaming something other than themselves. I mean, it's never just, I didn't play good enough to win. I mean, sometimes there's some people with that right attitude, but a lot of people are like, try to find other reasons why they lost. And yes, Quinta, you are very valuable. Let's see. I have not seen the Aztecs mod. I saw that it was there, but I haven't played it. Chemo versus Matt. Is there a Chemo versus Matt game I'm supposed to watch? Maybe do another recorder. But before we leave, what do you guys think of the recorded game strategical analysis? I enjoyed the commentary. There's some people that were maybe a little more emotionally involved in what they should have been. But that's all right. It's good that people get emotional about the game. But it's dangerous, though, when you let your reason be affected by emotion. Atreus versus Chemo. Is that kind of a similar thing? But I agree. I mean, I think people are sick of seeing Egyptian on top after 20 years. Yes, me too. I mean, let's remember when 4.0 first came out, and there were some additional nerfs to set, and that caused mayhem. And so they had to be backpedaled. Now apply that to other Egyptian nerfs that never happened. Just saying. I hate that Egyptians are the best. Like, I said that over and over and over. Like, Egyptians have been dominant for 18 years. If they suck for 18 years, then they can be good again. Like, I have no problem, like, just nerfing them to the ground. Because who cares? They've been good for 18 years. I mean, they could be bad for 18 years. It'll be equal. But now I understand that's a little tongue-in-cheek. I mean, the point isn't to just nerf them in the ground. It'd be great to get them to a spot where it's okay. But that's what my response was in discussions whenever it was, well, we don't want to make Egyptian too weak. I'm like, well, you know what? So what if they're too weak? I mean, a later patch could help them. Or they can just be too weak for like a couple years, and all of a sudden we won't be watching waves of mercenaries running across Painted Desert now, will we? Listening to people whine and complain about losing to mercenaries, even though they probably wasn't the reason they really lost. But, you know, no, I was not booted from the patch team. I just don't have time for it anymore. I could see it. I mean, if the process were to be perfect, I would still be doing it. But it's just not. It just. The way I wanted it to go, I could see that it was never going to go that way. And so I felt, you know what? I am not going to beat my head against the wall like I have in the past and spend a lot of time on that when I can have so much more fun not even worrying about it. So next patch, Eggy gets a flying merc. So no, I am not on the patch team. Master of Freedom does not determine who's on the patch team either. I think it was publicly shown that Joe was the one who's to be in charge, and here's what I did. Is that I had a game plan ready for 5.0. And so what I did is I posted, this is like my rough game plan. This is where I would start out at. And then we would work our way from here. And then I said, you can take what you want from this, you can leave it, do what you want, but I'm done. Yeah, I just, for reasons, I'm just finished. And so that's, I mean, is my plan perfect? No, but basically my plan would have involved a couple Egyptian like buffs. Like I would have brought, I think, Hands of the Pharaoh back to Archaic. And I was looking at a Wadget a little bit better. I would not have brought it to 100%. Maybe I set 50% negative against villagers. I would have maybe done 75 potentially, but I wasn't a big fan of that. But that would have been in conjunction with a big mercenary nerf, along with Skin of the Rhino to the temple. That's actually a big thing. But I would have wanted to do big mercenary nerf, Skin of the Rhino out of the temple. That was a terrible change. I think it was a change I originally didn't have a problem with, but I've wanted it back in the temple for a long time, or not back in the town center for a long time. That was my bad. I didn't realize how big of an effect it would have, and it's big. It should never have been in the temple. That is correct. But that's what I would have done for Egyptian. Something along those lines. But Skin of the Rhino in the temple, because it takes the time of 3 villagers, that's fine there, but the instant it's moved out of the temple is a way. But anyway, I said this about 15 minutes ago, is that I've got somebody waiting for me, so I think I will turn this off. I appreciate the conversation. I hope I didn't make anyone mad. Keep in mind, in the end, this is all just a game. but it's still fun to argue about it. For whatever reason, fun to argue about a stupid game. I haven't considered adding Ballista to the Norse Heroic, because that would be a pretty substantial design change. And sorry, John, if I made you mad, but I think you, John, could find yourself improving a lot more if you started thinking about why you lost because you made mistakes rather than why you lost because of imbalance or whatever. But I mean, I've always been a non-rager. I've always been pretty calm. Shot arbitrism will spread. But I can even see, like, back at 2005, I'm like, I used to get so worked up about mercs rather than spend that time, like, watching my recs and realizing I could have done this and this and this and won this game instead. And it really wasn't the merc that cost me. But there were times back in the day, but I mean, I was 15. You're gonna have to show me that rec. Look, I don't remember that at all. But I mean, I'm not gonna deny that there weren't times that I raged. The 15-year-old me raged. But I would be interested to know if I was playing ISIS or Ra at that point. Because when I played ISIS, I still did mercs. When I switched to Ra, I didn't, unless it was tournaments. Or maybe if I was raging in a game, I might have. But but yeah. Anyway, I appreciate the time. I agree. That's more Nine. That's more of me. That's why I don't watch my recorded games, is because I watch them and I'm like, I know the mistakes I'm making, and I'm like, I just get annoyed by watching them. So like, when I'm playing and I know what I'm doing wrong, I'm like, dang it, this is just so annoying because for whatever reason, why am I housed every single game? Why am I villagers idle every single game? I'm like, it's just so frustrating. But you know, then I just sit back and like, whatever. You know, I just accept. I'm accepting the fact now that that's just me. But yeah, mercs are way overpowered. But talk about it for a while. Anyway, as I now said 20 minutes ago, I'm gonna head on out. I enjoyed this. This was fun. You tell Lord he's not as valuable. No, everyone is equally valuable. DM Quinta. So not gonna fall for your shenanigans. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me see if there's somebody else streaming. I'll send you guys over to them, and then I'll probably be. No, I don't know if I'm gonna be playing later. I'm not sure. But thanks for the couple follows. I missed a couple subs. Floppy Cowboy followed and subbed. Thank you. Tax subscribe 10 months. Appreciate it. And Loke. And that's a name. That's it. Loke or Loki. And Don with the follows. So I can send you guys to Cyclone. It's good to see him back. Loke. So, all right. Peace out, my friends. I'll catch y'all later.